Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I've done quite a few videos on repairing this Land Rover and thought I'd do an overview video of it just so you get an idea of where things stand, ownership to date and the things that have gone wrong. This is a 2010 3-litre SE Discovery 4 or LR4. It's in the SE spec, which in Australia is a relatively basic spec. It doesn't have electric seats or the big infotainment system. Which is now actually quite dated anyway, but it does have 7 seats and rear air conditioning, which is ideal for us really. Fine, it doesn't have a leather interior either. Again, that's not a bad thing. I've put a CarPuride W901 infotainment system in this car. It's Android Auto and Apple CarPlay compatible and has actually been very good. I did a video on making a flip-up bracket so you can still look at the old clock, which is for what it's worth. But that helps you if you need to use those menus. And it sits quite comfortably like that. I'm pleased with it. Although lately, I upgraded my phone to a Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. And since then, the Wi-Fi connection to the CarPuride keeps breaking down. I assume it's just software, but I don't know. I've owned the car for about 4.5 years now. And for the first 2 years, we had very few problems with it at all. Pretty smooth sailing. And although I'd expected to have major problems, 2 years was good. But then the gremlins started happening. It wasn't all at once, but just gradually, like a dripping tap. The first problem I had was with the air suspension pump. I didn't do a video on this one, but it's actually quite straightforward, particularly if you've got a hoist. You can get right in there. It's just a question of one particularly difficult bolt at the top and the hoses that you need to remove. But that wasn't too bad. And replacing that fixed the problem. The air suspension pump is actually quite an important part. If that fails, you're in trouble. It'll go to the stops and then is almost undrivable if you lose all of your air. So I used the Gap 2 diagnostic tool, and that helped me ascertain that the air compressor wasn't producing enough air. It was producing some, but just not enough to actually raise the car. So it needed to be replaced. And then there was the alternator. The alternator is a bit of swine to do on this car. It's buried right down low with limited access. But made worse, the main power wire is just that little bit too short for you to actually work on it. If it was a couple of inches longer, then it would make the job much easier. Again, I didn't do a video on that one. I just needed to get it fixed. It was producing a charge error, even though the battery was brand new. Then we had a failure with the throttle body. The throttle body's piece of plastic that comes via the inlet, air inlet, and then splits it into two for the inlet manifolds. Turned out that was actually cracked underneath, so you couldn't see the crack, and a smoke test proved that it was a crack. I replaced that. That part was $1,200. It was a genuine Land Rover part, and that was pretty expensive. If you get an aftermarket part, then it would be a quarter of that. And I think that would have been adequate, to be honest, but I went down the genuine part road. After a time, I got another suspension error. Thought, oh no, has the pump gone? But no, it wasn't. It turned out that it's was the front left air shock. If you raise the car up to its full height, you could discern that there was a leak in the airbag. This time we got a suspension fault. Side. I'll just put it into high mode and see the car goes up. No problem. Turn it off. So going around to the front wheel, it's coming from the airbag up in the top there. So I replaced both of those. I did do a video on those, on doing that job. Not hard, difficult access, and obviously you've got to break some ball joints apart to actually get the thing out. But the trickiest part is that there isn't enough spare hose to be able to plug it in easily. But that solved that problem. Then came the oil cooler. The oil cooler on these engines it's a V6 diesel. Is buried down deep in the V, and to get to it is not so bad. You take the throttle body out once again, and a load of other componentry which I show in a video, but once you're in there you can't actually maneuver the thing out of its hole. It's blocked by a bracket at the rear. Some people have managed to do it, but I spent a long time trying to finagle it out of the hole. So I continue struggling to take the thing out, the approved way. You can see here a video which you can find on YouTube is the approved way of doing it, but in reality it just doesn't fit. I spent more than an hour trying to jiggle it into position to do it. And couldn't do it, so I ended up cutting off a little bracket at the back, which isn't used really on this 4. It's used more on the 3, Discovery 3, because the all separator is much bigger on the Discovery 3 and needs more support. I think that's why it's there. But anyway, cutting it off helped me do the job. Then came a cracked inlet manifold. I discovered that it had cracked only about a week after doing the oil cooler. It would have been easier to have taken the head off, the inlet manifold off, and then I could have easily accessed the oil cooler, but wasn't to be that way. So then I did a job and videoed it of replacing the left-hand inlet manifold. They say that the left-hand one's the hardest one to do because of access to bolts is a little bit harder. It's behind the timing cover. On the right-hand side, it's possibly a little bit easier, but I think it would be just as time-consuming. That job took me about 10 hours, and I did a video on it, which I'll link in the description. So having got the manifold reassembled, the fix for both the oil cooler and the manifold have been successful as far as I can tell. There's no oil leaks from that area anyway. So that brings me up to the present day. There's a few other minor things all along the way, but that's the major jobs that I've had to do so far. As things stand, the air conditioner is intermittent. You have to keep pushing the aircon button to actually keep it on. It'll sometimes come on, run fine for a while, nice and cool, cut out again. It keeps doing that. I understand it's the solenoid valve, and I've got a new solenoid valve which I'll install possibly in the next video and do that job. Also, I'm going to try and use high chill 30 as a gas. That means I can put it in myself. I'll get it drained at a local air conditioning place. I'll refill it with high chill 30. I've got a crack in the rear high-mounted stoplight. Those things weather. This one's weathered quite badly. It's now got a crack in it. We had 5 inches of rain the other night, and it was a sopping wet mess in the back because of the crack. So I've got the part for doing that job. Not genuine. It's come from AliExpress, I think. The trouble is, it's been quite a while since I ordered this thing, but it looks okay. The job's not as simple as I thought it was going to be, having watched a couple of videos since ordering the parts. Apparently they can pop out because they're only held in by glue. I couldn't work out what the actual glue was that Land Rover used, but figured I'd go with the best windscreen sealant that I could get my hands on, which is, in this case, Sikaflex 258, which is a primeless windscreen adhesive. So I guess we'll just have to see how that goes. We have a problem with the saggy headlining. I've been holding this up with pigtail pins. You can buy those just in most fabric shops, and they hold it up quite well. Whether I'll actually fix it properly or not in the end, I don't know at this stage. Both rear door locks are intermittent. They sometimes lock and sometimes don't. The car has an alarm, so it's not so much of a worry, but they need to be fixed. It needs to be reliable, so I'll do those. I've got the parts to do that, and I'll do a video on replacing those. The seat stitching on both front seats has gone. Not a major problem, but cosmetically it doesn't look good, so I'll have to take the seats out and restitch them. The seats aren't electric, so that shouldn't be too bad a job. The clear coat's failing on the bonnet, roof, and rear door handle. It's gone quite flaky and looks unsightly. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about that. Yeah, if you've got any ideas of how to fix the clear coat, I think it is a case of sanding it down and spraying another coat on. We'll see. The suspension's starting to feel a little bit clunky. It's not too bad, but I suspect I'm going to have to examine the bushes and the sway bars, etc., just to see if they need replaced. I try to service it roughly every 5,000 kilometres, and I don't like letting it go past 7,000. These engines seem to prefer more regular oil changes, and honestly, it gives me peace of mind. I do all the filters and fluids myself as well. Pretty simple once you've done it a few times. So that's currently the state of play with the Discovery. It's not perfect by any means, but I still love it, and it does the job that we want it to. The value of the car now, when we bought it 4.5 years ago, we paid about 35,000 Australian dollars for it. Now it's probably maybe 17 if I'm lucky. That means that any major failures on the car write it off really. And if you added up all the things that I've got to do to it, took it to a Land Rover dealer, then I don't think it would be economically viable. They charge far too much to do the work, so I just have to do it myself. And there's something satisfying about keeping an older vehicle on the road, even if it does test your patience every now and then, and they're quirky to say the least. But not that bad to work on. They have a very bad reputation for breaking crankshafts, etc. But that's part of the reason why I'm doing such regular oil changes, in the hope that that won't raise its head, but we'll see. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for your time.